Hi guys, welcome to Memo's Tutorials. Today we are looking at evolution, which is a very long topic, and it contributes a lot of marks to your life science, right? So when we are looking at evolution, we are concerned, will be focusing on theories and hypotheses that they made to come up with conclusion, right? So when we're talking of a theory, it's just an explanation of something that has been observed in nature, and it has supporting facts and a lot of generalizations, and there was a tested hypothesis, models, and the laws were made. Okay, so a hypothesis, it's just a possible solution to a problem, so a hypothesis, you design it before you even do the actual experiment. You just say, these are my possible solutions, this is what I might get. Okay, so with that being said, let's have a look at the evidence for evolution. Why are we all agreeing that there is a change, there's evolving that is taking place, right? So there is fossil evidence, number one. So this gives this evidence shows us characteristics that make us similar to, or that makes us different from African apes, which come largely from a study of fossils. So fossils, these are just remains, that the archaeologists found out many years ago, right? So now another thing for evidence of evolution is genetic evidence. To say, scientists, they state that organisms are closely related and are likely to have a common ancestor if they have identical DNA structure. If your DNA structure is the same, you've got similar sequencing of genes, you've got similar portions of DNA with no functions and similar mutations, for example, in the mitochondrial DNA. So this genetic evidence, it's also proves evidence for evolution, right? So some species are closely related and they have a greater similarity to each other than distant species. So as we have many different species, some are more closely related to others and some are not. Okay, and then we have what we call cultural evidence. Apart from fossil fuels, from fossil evidence and genetic evidence, we also have what we call cultural evidence. So on cultural evidence, from studies of this comes from studies of tools and weapons, as well as language is also used to show similarities and differences between humans and African apes, right? So it's like we're comparing humans to African apes. Okay, so what are these sources of variation? Number one, the genotypes and therefore phenotypes. I hope you guys still remember what a genotype is. Remember, we said a genotype is the genetic makeup, right? We don't see the genetic makeup, but phenotype is the appearance. It's what we see on the outside of individuals, right? So the genotypes and phenotypes of individuals of the same species are different from each other. Why are they different? We are looking at sources of variation. Variation means variety, differences, right? We are looking at differences. So number one, there's crossing over in Prophase 1. If you still remember your meiosis very well, we're having crossing over in Prophase 1 of meiosis. In this crossing over, there's an exchange of genetic material. This exchange of genetic material, it leads to new combination of maternal and paternal genetic material in each new cell, resulting from meiosis. Remember, meiosis happens in the gametes. It happens in sexual gametes. It doesn't take place in any other parts of your body. So at the end of the day, we end up having a mixture. We end up having differences, right? At the end of the day, due to this crossing over of genetic material in Prophase 1. Number two, there is random arrangement of maternal and paternal chromosomes at the equator during metaphase. So this allows different combination of chromosomes or chromatids to go into each new cell resulting from meiosis, making them different, right? It's not a strict arrangement when we're at metaphase. Remember the metaphase stage, everyone lines up at the equator, right? So the lining up at the equator, it's random. It being random gives rise to varieties being formed, because any cell, any chromosomes will go to the other cell and form a new, making a something that is totally different from what we had at the beginning, right? Also, there's random fertilization between different egg cells and different sperm cells formed by meiosis, resulting in offspring that are different from each other. When it comes to fertilization, it's also random. It's not exactly to say A and B, they are the ones that are going to fertilize each other. The A sperm can actually fertilize the Z egg there. That's why you see, we might be siblings, but we don't look exactly the same. And sometimes they might be twins, but they don't look exactly the same. Those fraternal twins, right? Where we say the other one, the egg is fertilized on the left-hand side and the other egg is fertilized on the right-hand side. They are not so common, though. We'll give birth to two siblings. They won't be looking like twins at all. But then the twins that we have that look the identical twins, it will be just one egg that it would have further divided, and then it then results in two babies that are exactly identical, right? But then there's also random mating between organisms within species, which lead to a different set of offsprings from each mating pair. I'm sure even in real life you can agree. Zodwa will get married to Peter, and then Nobuhle will get married to so ever. Black and white, Indian, whatsoever. We are mixing, It's a random thing. It's not sequenced, though some religions they sequence it. It's not sequenced to say this so and so must mate with this one, so and so must mate with this one. But it's out of choice. Anyone can marry whosoever in most religions, right? So that's random mating. This random mating also gives rise to different set of offsprings, right? We have what we call mutations, and they are not always an advantage, though. This mutation, these are changes that takes place on our genes or our chromosomes, and these ones, they usually affect the genotype, the genetic makeup. Remember, the genetic makeup is the one that influences the phenotype, is the one that influences the outside appearance, right? So if you happen to have any genetic mutations that is taking place inside, you might realize that you will give birth to something, to an offspring with different characteristics from one generation to the next, right? Let's say a gene that codes for your skin color, for your melanin, it's defected. You might end up giving birth to an albino, which is someone which is totally different from the set of parents that will be having, right? So with that being said, on our next